Good evening. This is a meeting of the Township Committee, October 21st, 2013. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Two-River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk, all on January 11, 2013. Committeeman Fiore.
Here.
Committeeman Sell.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Murray.
Here.
Committeeman Sedembrino. Mayor Sharpenberger.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our freedoms, constitutions, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have certificates of appreciation and proclamations. Our first item is a proclamation declaring October 26, 2013, Make a Difference Day. At this time, I'd like to invite Social Services Director Barbara Natalia, please come forward.
Anybody who doesn't know Barbara Maselli, you're Director of Social Services. Okay, that's your title exactly right. I have a quick Barbara Maselli story for you. About a month ago, I went to a 90-year-old World War II vet. They asked me to come and give him a proclamation for his 90th birthday. And he was wheelchair bound. It was really a nice thing. He passed away about 3 days ago. The reason I'm telling you this is, I said, is there anything the town can do for you? You know, he was really in good spirits, but you could tell he was a little bit frustrated with being wheelchair bound. And I said, well, you know what I can do? I don't know off the top of my head. He had some issues with getting to doctors. And I said, I know just the person who would know what programs are out there. And I put him in touch with Barbara and Marvin Horn. And I had spoken to Marvin then about a week or two ago, and he passed somewhat suddenly. And I said, whatever happened? He said, she was the nicest person. She was so much help, and I really appreciated it. So I really felt good after he passed, and I knew that Barbara had helped him in the last few weeks. So that was really a good thing, and that's the kind of effect and impact Barbara has on people. And she does this, that's just one instance in dozens and dozens of them all along. So with that, I'm going to read this proclamation for the birthday girl. Whereas almost half of the people in New Jersey who live with hunger are children under the age of 18. Approximately 1.2 million New Jerseyans rely on food provided by emergency food providers. And whereas Middletown Township is committed to combating hunger throughout the township, our Social Services Department works closely with Middletown Helps Its Own and other food banks to provide food services to residents in need. And whereas the Middletown Social Services Department is holding a food and cleaning supplies drive through October 25th. Non-perishable food, cleaning supplies, personal hygiene items, and paper products are needed. And whereas donations can be dropped off at any township facility as well as many local banks and gyms. And whereas all donations will be collected and added to the Middletown Social Services and Middletown Helps Its Own Household Pantry during May 50th Day on Saturday, October 26, 2013. It is estimated that more than 3 million Americans will be engaged in community service on this day. Now therefore, I, Mayor Jerry Schaffenberger, and the Middletown Township Committee do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 26, 2013 as Make a Difference Day in the Township of Middletown. We encourage the community to support Make a Difference Day and help a neighbor by contributing to the household pantry. Barbara, thank you for everything you do. Do you want to say anything? That very rarely happens.
You can find a full list of drop-off locations on the website. There are many days and many places you can drop off. Right, Barbara? Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
agenda, we have a proclamation for our Chief Financial Officer, Nicola Trecente. Please come forward.
Okay, the cat's out of the bag now. We've lost our CFO, and the reason we brought Nick back is this is really, there's a lot of people who really work behind the scenes for the most part, who really make this town work as well as it does. And Nick is certainly was part of the team for a little over 2 years, I think. 3 years, okay. Okay, wow. And ironically,
Time goes fast.
yeah, I know. I'm glad you haven't fun. But he's going to Somerset County, and we're really very happy for him. Friends of mine, I know the folks who he's going to be working for, great people up there, Bob Bizik and all those folks up in Somerset. So our loss is their gain. But we wanted to bring Nick back just to recognize what he's done for the town. He's done a great job for us. It's a very, very complex task he has to try and get the finances in order and keep the town in the straight and narrow. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the town's finances are in top-notch shape. Our audits are flawless, and we really have a lot to be proud of as far as the way that's run. And certainly the CFO and his staff plays a big part in that. So with that, we'll get back to Somerset and read the proclamation. Whereas Nick Trecente joined Middletown Township's management team in 2010 as the Chief Financial Officer. His responsibilities include preparing and managing municipal budgets of over $67 million and procuring necessary municipal bonds and notes. And whereas Nick has been integral to Middletown's continued financial well-being, sound management practices, and strong bond ratings. Thanks to his guidance, the tax rate has remained stable despite challenges presented by a tumultuous economy and Superstorm Sandy. And whereas Middletown has been very fortunate to have had someone of Nick Trecente's caliber on the township's management team. His credentials include serving as Finance Director for Hoboken City, as well as Borough Administrator and Chief Financial Officer for Highland Park. He's also served as an auditor for the State Division of Local Government Services and Ernst & Young. And whereas the Mayor and Middletown Township Committee wish to take this opportunity to offer our heartfelt thanks to Chief Financial Officer Nick Trecente for his dedication to public service and his noteworthy contributions to governing finances in Middletown and statewide. Now therefore be it proclaimed on Monday, October 21st, 2013, that I, Mayor Jerry Schaffenberger, and the Middletown Township Committee do hereby commend Chief Financial Officer Nick Trecente for his substantial contributions to the betterment of Middletown Township. On behalf of Middletown's employees and residents, we wish you the best of luck in your new position.
You gotta smile twice. Awesome, thank you.
I just wanted to say, that it was a good run while I was here. We did a lot of things, but it wasn't as bad as Mayor Schomburger just said. I mean, from the day I started, I came into a major storm that happened where we had to get FEMA aid for. Several months later, we had another storm, and just before the end of the year, where Middletown was one of the only towns affected by this snowstorm in December, where we had to deal with FEMA again. Several months down the road, we had to deal with FEMA again with Irene. Last year, we had to deal with FEMA again for Sandy. And not to mention the countless snowstorms that happened in between all that, especially during 2010 and 2011. So some of you might be happy I'm going, because since I got here, I've got nothing but FEMA requests. I assure you I had nothing to do with it, but it was a pleasure to work here, and I made many friends here, department heads, great people. And the 8-mile commute to my home right now in a new position, I couldn't say no, versus 70 miles to here. So I really want to just thank everybody for the opportunity, and I'll miss everybody here.
the rest of the show?
Okay, what we're going to do now is to recognize the sponsors for Middletown Day. And Middletown Day, I guess most people were here today, were there that day. And I say that because I think everybody in Middletown at some point was there. 15,000 people came to Middletown Day, and it was just one of those glorious, beautiful, sunny days where everything just seemed to work out just right. And we want to really recognize the sponsors who really made this possible. Just so you're aware, Middletown Day was paid for 100% with private donations, so it didn't cost the township anything, and the township benefited in a big way. Is there a representative from Care 1, Kara Smith? Okay. Care 1 was our platinum sponsor. The gold sponsors now, First Energy. Jackie, come out. Jersey Media Network, Chris. Middletown PBA, 124. Do you have a representative? There, but you were representing PBA. Finally, T&M Associates, Rob Keating.
Let's go, since you have such nice large groups of everybody. Now, for some kids, everybody should line that way for me, and then make friends. There we go, see, we'll get a nice fish. And I even get Middletown Day bags in there, and class. Look at that. What can I ask you? Is that the same generosity next year? Excellent, thank you.
Okay, now we have our silver sponsors. Archer and Brian, our own Brian Nelson. Thank you. Is Mark Melee from Bina Learning Center? How many did I put you last name? Kind of a name like mine, which I mentioned. Guaranteed Landscaping, Tim Malone. Tim? See him. Okay. And 90.5 The Night, Brookdale Radio, Tom Redmond. There you are. There you go. Investors Savings Bank?
You can tell me, but they weren't able to join us.
Oh, okay.
So the other sponsors were top sponsors, but not really.
Okay, I'll just read quickly the other sponsors who can't be with us. Investors Savings Bank, Brighton Gardens of Middletown, Colonial Bank, Middletown Township Education Association, and Post Benefits.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to be, I know the kids is what you guys are here for. The awards are the various games and contests. The NFL punt, pass, and kick, 6 to 7 year old boys, third place, Frankie Zano.
Good question.
Give a few minutes, okay? NFL punt, pass, and kick, 6 to 7 year old boys, second place, Jesse Burback. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 6 to 7 year old boys, first place, Dylan Passo. It's so cool, it's like he does this every day. Monday must be awarded. Okay, NFL punt, pass, and kick, 8 to 9 year old boys, second place, Zach Lowe.
You look cool. But you gotta go that way, I think it's really hard. There you go.
NFL punt, pass, and kick, 8 to 9 year old boys, first place, Max Kulia.
Awesome.
NFL punt, pass, and kick, 10 to 11 year old boys, third place, Logan Hallman.
I know mom's there, so I'm here. That was it.
boys, second place, Hunter Wyman. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 10 to 11-year-old boys. First place, Elijah Godet. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old boys. Third place, Nick Liberatore. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old boys. Second place, David Rodriguez. Certainly hope this is junior. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old boys. First place, Chris Aviva. Chris Aviva, junior or senior. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 14 to 15-year-old boys. Second place, Jordan Buckland. Punt, pass, and kick, 14 to 15-year-old boys. First place, Tony Palusha.
All right, so we're going to do all the punt, pass, and kick together. Boys. Is he back up? Here we go. I'm just making you know, so you can come up back to, there we go, all the way down, all the way down. Little more, little more, little more, little more. Awesome, all right. Together, a little bit, and I'll put them touch that. Here we go. All right. And I can see you all, awesome. Shut up.
each division, his score was submitted to the NFL punt, pass, and kick website. And what happened?
together, and if you qualify, they will get called up to the next level. So I think it's all done by email, so watch your emails.
Okay. NFL punt, pass, and kick, 8 to 9-year-old girls. Second place, Maeve Richter.
All right, babe, let me see you. Just like the boys. There we go.
We need some heads.
See you. That's right. All right.
Punt, pass, and kick, 8 to 9-year-old girls. First place, Amanda Sclafani.
Sorry.
Punt, pass, and kick, 10 to 11-year-old girls. Third place, Devin Oriando. Punt, pass, and kick, 10 to 11-year-old girls. Second place, Logan Zgiato. Punt, pass, and kick, 10 to 11-year-old girls. First place, Lexi Frost.
Now I have it. Thank you.
Punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old girls. Third place, Haley Nicholas. Go on the next one. Punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old girls. Second place, Rebecca Trumbull. Punt, pass, and kick, 12 to 13-year-old girls. First place, Alexa Kulavia.
All right, same real quick. All the way down far enough to your right arm up. There we go. Stand together. There you are. Okay. My name is Michael. Down the way. Action thoughts. Smile is required.
More reserved seats for coming year. Home Run Derby 9-year-old winner, first place, Colin Koskinen. Home Run Derby winner for 10-year-olds, first place, Nicholas Altilio. I know they're not here, so we can afford them anyway. Home Run Derby 11-year-old, second place, Colin Andrusco. Home Run Derby 11-year-old, first place, Jack Costigan. The Costigan family's at the back page right now.
All right, so you get one more big shot yourself.
You're the number one Home Run Derby champion.
You gotta turn around that ticket, so I can see this part. And see it pull. There we go. I see that, right? One more.
Hey guys. Penalty kick challenge. Soccer 8-year-old girls, first place, Olivia Lavin.
It's legal.
I should point out that the Middletown Soccer Club is generously donating these balls for the winners, so. Big challenge, 10 and 12-year-old girls, third place, Amanda Burke. Penalty kick challenge, 10 and 12-year-old girls, second place, Alexa Claudia. I never said it wrong every time, right?
God gets you with two medals. Now I
Penalty kick challenge, 10 to 12-year-old girls. First place, Logan Scottsdale. You have a lot of people on your hand.
I see, okay, then it's that time again. But it's back to 7:40, it's 7 now. Happy, right, it's 7:11. How's everybody going? That's awesome, great. But mom,
Gig Challenge, 8-year-old boys. First place, Devin O'Brien. Not here, but first place winner for 9-year-old boys, Marcus Franco. Penalty Kick Challenge, 10 to 12-year-old boys, third place, Jack Howie. Penalty Kick Challenge, 10 to 12-year-old boys, second place, Riley Franklin. Penalty Kick Challenge, 10 to 12-year-old boys, first place, Jonathan Vitelli. Penalty Kick Challenge, 13 to 14-year-olds, first place, Dylan Oriondo.
There we go. Sorry. Congratulations. You guys, this is serious. Nice to have
Juggling contest. 9-year-old girls, first place, Lucy Avanasov. Juggling contest, 10 to 12-year-old girls, third place, Lexi Frost. Juggling contest, 10 to 12-year-old girls, second place, Alexa Kualia. You again.
All right, heads back.
You can always mind your
I
notes.
see them all. All right, awesome. So next, one more, excellent.
Juggling contest, 10 to 12-year-old girls, first place, Amanda Burke. Okay, juggling contest, 10 to 12-year-old boys, second place, Timmy Frost.
Very cool.
Juggling contest, 10 to 12-year-old boys, first place, Jack Howard. Juggling contest, 13 to 14-year-old boys, first place, Dylan Oriundo.
Alright. So you get one more shot together, back to the middle, there we go. Make sure all the medals face the color. Awesome. Again, it's still feel nice and easy, right? There you go. One more time.
Our next item on tonight's agenda, we have approval of minutes for September 3rd, 2013 workshop meeting and the September 16, 2013 regular meeting.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore. Yes. Committeeman Estelle.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve minutes. At this time, we have public hearing on proposed ordinance 2013-3097, an ordinance dissolving the swim club utility.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this ordinance? Yes.
My name is Tracy Lewis and 45 Dean Terrace. I actually wanted to talk about two different things, but we're just going to talk.
It's this ordinance now, yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, I know that there's a deed restriction on the property regarding the pool club, that they have to maintain a public and/or private pool club, correct? Okay, and I'm just wondering, they also have to maintain lifeguards.
Public recreational
Excuse
use.
me?
Does not have to be maintained for a public recreational purpose.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so they don't have to maintain that pool club if they,
It has to continue to be recreational, can't be commercial business, it can't be residential, they can't sell it for anything, it has to stay recreational. Or it would-
right? It was reduced in price to like what, 1.875 million because it had the deed restriction, it was recreation. Then it went down to what, 1.3 million because
I don't think we ever reduced prices when I was.
There was one upfront price, and that was the amount to defease the bonds, which was
Okay.
Prop 13 something off the top of my head.
So how much did they purchase the pool club for?
One point, they purchased the entire property with the revert for 1.3 million. I mean, you opened all the documents, so you should have it in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Whatever the number was in there.
Okay, my question, it was my understanding that they were supposed to purchase the property, it was supposed to be for 1.875 million.
Correct.
So then they went down to 1.3.
It never went down. There was only one price.
Okay, but, it was
That was the number, there was no other number off.
okay. So there's no requirement that he maintains that pool club. So if he decides he doesn't want to maintain that pool club anymore, he's within his rights to do that, correct?
As long as they maintain public recreational uses there, yes. It could be something else hypothetically, yes. But it has to still be a recreational purpose and
Okay,
use
so the lease.
that's open to the public.
The lease that he had was so that he.
The lease was temporary. That was a one-year term, yeah.
Okay.
The lease was temporary until the closing could be concluded.
Okay, then that's the question that I had about it. Thank you very much.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak to ordinance number 2013-3097? Seeing no further members of the public come forward, move to close the public portion and move for adoption.
Second. Committeeman Fury.
Absolutely, yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Schaffenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. At this time, we have a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 13-250 through 13-263, including volunteer firefighter applications and bingo and raffles.
Move for adoption.
Second. Committeeman Fury.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray. Yes. Mayor Schaffenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt the consent agenda. At this time, we have resolution 13-249, a resolution authorizing payment of bills for October 21st, 2013.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Committeeman Fury.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Schaffenberger.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass resolution 13-249. At this time, we have Township Committee comments.
Mr. Massell.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments tonight, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fiore, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Plenty of comments this evening. First of all, I want to again congratulate all the winners and thank again the sponsors for a great and fantastic Middletown Day. I don't think we could have ordered up better weather or a better day to celebrate the community. So I wanted to thank all the volunteers. I see Maggie here, I see Janet here, I see plenty of people here who volunteered or we had the opportunity to see during Middletown Day. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did, and a lot of the feedback, most, if not all the feedback that was received was what a great day and a positive day it was to really celebrate all that brings our community together and all that makes this such a great and the best community to live in the United States. So just a wonderful day and event. A quick comment on Mr. Trisante, who was good to see here this evening. I had the pleasure, as through my whole tenure, as most of this board has, of dealing with Mr. Trisante, who came in during a very difficult circumstance when we lost our CFO back at the end of 2009, in the midst of not only all of those FEMA and weather disasters, also inheriting a 2% property tax cap. And Mr. Trisante had done a terrific job getting us and giving us financial forecasts and helping put our, as the mayor said, our feet on a great solid footing here in Middletown Township. So he will be definitely missed. I do thank him also for his volunteer hours he spent with me as treasurer of the Middletown Disaster Relief Fund on his own time, and wish him the best in his role in Somerset County, where I believe he's the county CFO, correct, Mayor? Tony's not. So that's a really big step up and a great opportunity for him, and I wish him, as I know we all do and did this evening, wish him the best. My final comment has to do with something that I am extremely familiar with and something that I am extremely unhappy with, and that is the National Flood Insurance Program known as NFIP. And but I'm very familiar with NFIP because I'm also someone who is a flood policy owner in NFIP, and I've had to deal with them before. But generally, my comments are going to be very, very specific to a legislation that was passed a few years ago, legislation that was passed pretty much while some of our local federal legislators, in my opinion, were once again asleep at the switch, called the Elimination of the Bigger Waters Act, which I think was passed around July 4th weekend in 2012, right before Hurricane Sandy. And its impacts now to not only Middletown, to all coastal communities in New Jersey. So the National Flood Insurance Program, prior to that elimination of that Bigger Waters Act, used to actually provide federal subsidies, which are now going away under the National Flood Insurance Program. And for those of you who are not part of the National Flood Insurance Program, a brief little history. When you have a property that is in a flood zone, you have to, if you carry a mortgage, you have to carry flood insurance, mandatory flood insurance. That zone was expanded in, I believe, 2007 or 2008. I can be corrected, I know it was one of those 2 years. I believe it was 2008 when that zone was expanded to include properties based on the fact that they believed that the federal government decided that flood dike prevention, such as what we have out in North Middletown with the dikes, were no longer acceptable measures of flood control methods. So we had an expanded zone. What you do is you buy flood insurance, rather expensive flood insurance in some cases. It was really dependent on elevation and location and zone. That's just a quick overview. You did not go out to the private marketplace. The money was always handled by FEMA and a national program. What has happened since 2008, that zone is expanded. You don't have to cover contents, you have to cover your building property. Ultimately, there were some federal subsidies through community rating system and things, which actually made it advantageous to be a national program. We saw last year, when Sandy hit, that thankfully, many of the residents who were affected had flood insurance and, may have been forced to buy it, may have been a buying decision. That was a little bit of a blessing. And ultimately, while I can argue that nobody received the amount that they should have received, there was some insurance stopgap. The issue that we have today, and I'm sure there are letters, I'm sure some of you are here today about letters you've received, is that we have a lot of residents in North Middletown who did not receive any flooding damage, but yet, post this new legislation last year, are now receiving letters that are going to state that your new flood insurance is going to be done via actuarial calculation based on your height of your elevation. So long story short, you basically might be 3 feet above sea level, had not a drop of water from Superstorm Sandy, and may see hundreds of % increases in your mandatory flood insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, that is ridiculous. Okay, this is a national, in my opinion, is a national program, and quite honestly, it's a national Ponzi scheme. Because in effect, what they're doing is taking this flood insurance money, which they've been taking for years, and if you remember during Superstorm Sandy, the fund was broke, and they had to wait for congressional legislation to pass the Sandy relief bill to be able to fund the National Flood Insurance Program, and to be able to actually start giving out money for claims that were being withheld because the system, the national insurance system was broke. Now, where are we today? Today, you may be getting a letter, and that letter may state that you're going to see massive increases whether you had a drop of water, and I'm talking for the people who did not get flooding from Superstorm Sandy. The substantially damaged properties, I can understand having to meet the new standards. That's a standard we all knew about when we joined the program. But you may not have had substantial damage, and you may face thousands of dollars in flood insurance bills, and you have nowhere to turn. Because this is a national program, unlike when you do your own car insurance or your health insurance, you cannot say, I don't like the rate at Geico, and I'm going to go look at Allstate or State Farm. You are forced to buy the national program. And if you don't buy the national program and you have a mortgage, your bank will do it for you at exorbitant rates. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unacceptable to me. And I would like to see a resolution passed by this governing body at its next meeting to be shared by all coastal communities throughout New Jersey and throughout anywhere that's dealing with the same things. We're not alone here in Middletown. This is happening up and down the coast in New Jersey. It's happening in New York. It's happening in Mississippi. It's happening all over the place. So what I'd like to see is to demand a resolution that demands a freeze on rate changes for non-affected properties post-Superstorm Sandy. I think it is unfair to lump everybody in one group to take this amount of money that, quite honestly, never really even stays in that program in New Jersey anyway. Experience has shown us that. If we're not going to see that happen, I demand the government get out of the national program and allow private carriers to be able to come into the marketplace to provide more competitive rates. Okay? We don't know what competitive rates are for national flood insurance because there is no competition right now. Your rates are set by some governmental bureaucrats, which are why you're probably all in attendance here today. We stand behind you with that claim, that that is not fair. I also ask and demand that the state take action to help block this legislation, as they are in other states like Mississippi and I believe New York. That the state come in and file an injunction and basically say, this should not be allowed for properties that have not received any substantial damage. These people have nowhere to turn. Our people will have their property values basically reduced to nothing with a $10,000 flood insurance policy. That's probably 3 times your tax bill in most of your areas, at least twice, depending on what your value of your house is. And, quite honestly, I would ask that the governing body continue to work with our federal legislators. Okay, this is not a municipal issue. The mayor cannot do a darn thing for you here. I cannot do a darn thing for you. The administrator can't do a thing for you except to give you letters, which most of you have probably filled out, to go on our website and demand federal action. Well, today I'm demanding state action. Today I'm demanding all other towns band together to oppose what's happened to people who have not had any claims history, to prevent these ridiculous and insane flood increases. What I'm asking for you to continue to do is to pound our congressmen in your area. We have 2 congressmen here. You can bet we'll call them both. Congressman Pallone, Congressman Smith. Congressman Smith is kind of new, but he has a lot of coastal areas. We're going to demand they stand behind us. in fighting these rate increases, because it quite honestly is just not serving anybody's interest, yours, the municipalities, or the states. The only interest being served here is the federal national flood insurance program, who takes these monies and God knows what they do with it, but they don't give it to fix your house when you receive a flood, at least to the appropriate level. So I'd like you to know, and I stand here today, and I'm fed up just like you. I see a lot of frustration in the audience, and we feel your pain, and I feel your pain, and we're going to do everything we can to get the message out to try to stop this. It's a shame that the senators and congressmen let this happen, being asleep at the switch. But it's time for the state and the federal authorities to act to prevent it from happening further. Because the damage could be great on your financial situation and your property values. So I am, again, not against insurance. I'm not against flood insurance. I'm against the way that they're administering this flood insurance plan. And ladies and gentlemen, let me close with this. If this is how the government runs national flood insurance, just wait till they get their hands on your health insurance. Thank you.
Thanks. Deputy Mayor Murray.
I did have other comments, but in light of what Committeeman Fiore just said, I'd also like to say that I would support such a resolution that Committeeman Fiore has just proposed. It's very frustrating and aggravating when federal agencies try to tell us what's best for our own local communities. And I would like to see a speedy resolution to this, and again, I would support such a resolution. You know what, I'm going to just leave it at that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing before I address the Ideal Beach Association meeting that we had the other night. I attended the fire department drill at Bell Labs in Homedale, and I just really want to give a shout out to the fire department. And I'm just in awe of the professionalism and the expertise that they exhibit with everything they do. People have been reading in the papers some fairly high-profile fires that we've had in town, and thanks to the efforts of the fire department, damage and certainly bodily harm or even death were averted because their quick action and their professional behavior. And at the fire drill, when you go to one of these things, and especially when it includes surrounding towns, you see how the Middletown Fire Department is looked up to by the surrounding towns and the departments there. As leaders, certainly as the top of the food chain, so to speak, as far as being having the ability to not only teach but execute, and it was really something to see. And we should all be very proud and very thankful to our tremendous fire department. Now, as far as I'm not going to pile on too much to what Tony and certainly Stephanie has said, but since the meeting, I know Tony Mercantante, the administrator, and I have been on the phone. Tony spoke to a representative in Washington, D.C. today from the flood insurance program. I spoke to certainly Chris Smith's representative, and I'm hoping to hear back from the congressman fairly soon. We've spoken to Frank Pallone's office. We think we're narrowing down some dates where Frank Pallone, Congressman Pallone, will actually be in attendance, not one of his aides. Not to disparage them, but we want to see the real guy now this time. I think it's that time. I also spoke to somebody in the governor's office and gave them an earful, and they're going to get back to me. They said they've been working on this and pressuring, so they're going to give me sort of a breakdown on what they've been doing. Again, the state has more leverage than we do, but it's ultimately up to the federal government, and we really have to keep the pressure on them. That's why we gave out those letters, because us five up here, we're birds chirping in the wilderness, unless we have some numbers behind us. So if we have a lot of support from the residents, that's what gets their attention, not necessarily five local officials. So with that, I know there's a lot of folks who have a lot to say, so I'm going to let it go right there. We're going to open up the public portion right now, and just so you know, the ground rules, please keep your comments to 5 minutes, and we're going to strictly enforce that because we really want to make sure everybody gets a chance. We've had complaints in the past about people going on and on, saying we're going to have to get up for work the next day, and I can't wait for so-and-so to get done with their filibuster. So please keep your comments to 5 minutes. If you need to speak to us more than that, we'd be happy to stay around and continue the conversation, and also give you a name and address. Thank you.
Okay.
We have a sign-in sheet or anything?
Oh, no, you come up, just give your name and address, and that way we have a record.
Good evening. My name is Greg Hutchinson. I live at 40 Taylor Avenue, North Middletown. Okay. We've been talking for many days now, you know, once all this stuff kind of, pardon the pun, the floodgates open. I'm in full agreement with Councilman Fiore, but one of the main reasons why I'm here tonight is to voice, I don't want to say that I speak for everybody, but saying that you guys can't do it alone, but we can't do it alone either. Once this meeting's over tonight, and you know, you get to that point where maybe they're quiet now, we can quiet them out.
I promise you,
Yeah,
that's not the case, won't be the case.
You know, it's a situation where, you know, these are our homes, these are our livelihoods. We work too hard to walk away. You know, you hear people threaten all the time, well, just let the bank have my house. For me, that's not an option. I'd rather fight the federal government to give them. So, that's one thing. I know that we didn't quite have the numbers we were hoping tonight, but I will tell you that we're only getting stronger. I mean, we're trying to get the neighborhood, the entire neighborhood, we're trying to get the surrounding neighborhood, Fort Monmouth, Belford, even Keysburg, whoever we need to get involved, we're only going to get stronger. And that's why I'm here to just let you guys know that don't give up on us, because we're just going to keep fighting harder. And we need your help just as much as you need our help to get this.
And that's why I want a resolution that will not only be passed here, but we share with every municipality in Union Beach, in Keensburg, in Atlantic Highlands, in Ortley Beach, in Lavallette, all the way up and down the coast, that their governing body can pass it, and also are in the same situation we are, and can have a larger voice when you have 100 municipalities saying that they oppose this level of conduct under the NFIP. So that's what we're trying to do to fight and get our voice a little bit higher.
A name that hasn't been really mentioned tonight, which, in my opinion, as a state trying to fight for something at the federal level, I think we need our governor involved. I mean, I hadn't heard.
He only cares about the boardwalk, you don't care about.
Ma'am, please don't yell out, you'll get your chance.
I'm just.
I spoke to the governor's office today, so they are involved. I just, want to let you know that they are there, and, again, he's an important piece in the puzzle.
Right.
Part of the resolution that I asked for was the state to join the fight by actually providing a federal injunction to stop this rate increase. That's what I want to see in the resolution.
And most everything else, like I said, you touched on with your comments. Where can we get concrete facts on all the bills that were passed? What situation we're actually in, where the floodplains, because these are things that I feel that we need. We can't go in guns blazing without the facts. You gotta have everything in front of you before you send letters. I mean, I know we've already sent letters that were kind of chain letters, but to do more, you have to have all the information in front of you. And it's not a thing you want to go into mistruths and half information. And I don't know about you, but I've heard 1,000 things in the last week of, if you're here, you're this, you're this, you're this. So I just want to know where we can go.
Tony, we're planning on being in contact with the Ideal Beach Association. I guess that's the best conduit for information from us through the association. And we were going to write up some summaries of what's been going on, where we're at, what we're doing, that sort of thing. We could certainly include facts.
Look up the basic information about the floodplain and how it affects the individual properties. There's a website that FEMA has that I believe we have a link on our website, but it's called Region 2 FEMA. It's easy to find. You can actually put your address in there, and it'll show you your property and your particular flood zone and other base flood elevation requirements. And that's really the factual information that you kind of need right now, just to know where you're at relative to everyone else in the area.
But if you're looking to see where changes happen and why you're in this situation of an actuarial valuation, federal subsidies going away, it was the Bigger Waters Act that we spoke to.
The laws of the Bigger Waters Act of 2012.
Passed on July 4th weekend.
And You can,
Also known as the Flood Insurance Reform Act of 2012, too. So look up either one of those terms.
Just in closing, like I said, we're here tonight to show you that we're serious about this, and we're not going to go down without a fight, and I hope that you can join us in our fight. It's right now, I'm hearing a lot of good things, but when the feet at the pavement, that's where we got to see it. It's not just about talking, it's our homes that we take and not.
And that's why we're going to be updating as we hear from the federal representatives and really keep you guys in the loop as far as what we're up against too, because you can kind of get a taste of what we go through. Frustrating as it may be, but you'll know it.
I get it, and I know that it's not going to be easy, but we have to fight, there's no one else going to do it.
Yeah. No, if you give it an inch, then it's over, so you got to keep up the pressure on these guys. Thank you. Thanks.
My question is,
Name and address.
Kyle Bracken, 95 Ray Avenue, North Middletown. I appreciate you guys coming to the meeting the other night at the rec center. I know you guys have our backs. My question is, my family lived in East Kingsburg all our lives. I'm 42, I've been there for my whole life. We put it back in 62, when they put the dike up. There's a rumor going around that now the dike is not considered flood control because it's not concrete.
That's what happened 5 years ago.
it's not really rumor. Part of the reason that the area was put into a flood hazard zone in 2008 and 2009 was that one of the things that changed at the federal level was they don't consider dunes to be a total flood control protection. In other words, nowadays you have to have a solid structure like a sea wall, like you see in Seabright. So that's the reason the neighborhood was put into a flood zone, because just dunes alone don't cut it anymore. So that's one thing. But being put in the flood zone wasn't the biggest issue, because everyone was able to get preferred risk rates, and they're pretty reasonable compared to others. The problem now is the Bigger Waters Act changes the way they rate from an insurance standpoint those properties. That's what's going to cause the problem for everyone. If everyone's rates were able to be locked in pretty much as they are now, I think people would be relatively satisfied with that.
Well, my question is for the dike itself. I mean, it did have break a leak in it. I think about 4 acres. And I guess there's a company out there now repairing it.
Yes.
Now, my question, if it's not a flood control system, why are they repairing? Why can't we replace it with blocks or concrete or?
Well, a couple things. The section that was damaged was being repaired. We asked them the very same question: is if you're not counting this as helping to protect against flood, why are you spending millions of dollars to fix it? Yeah, we've asked them the exact same question. From their standpoint, it's an existing structure. It's maintained by the DEP, and if it was damaged, they have the funds available to fix it. And I don't think we want to not fix it. So, we got to be careful what we ask for. So we want them to fix it. But you're right. It raises the question as to, well, why would you fix it if you're suggesting it doesn't really work anymore? And they haven't given us a good answer to that question. So.
Okay. And the next question I have, and I'll be done, is that beach Township. Kingsburg project. Is that include Ideal Beach, Leonardo, and
just Ideal Beach, up to Hughes Creek.
And when is that going to start? Or?
We've been told December it's going to start. We don't know what end they're starting at or anything like that yet, but supposedly, last we heard, that around December it should start.
Okay.
And they've given us different start dates, so we're at the mercy of their schedulers, so it's,
We have all the reasons.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Casey Quinn from First Center Avenue, Middletown.
Hey.
I appreciate everything you guys are doing for us, and again, we're all here to try to work together with you. I have a question. I have a ton of questions, but the one that frustrates me most, and I guess concerns me most, is if Superstorm Sandy was a hurricane, nobody utility would have been covered regardless of whether we flooded or not.
Not true.
Not sure, because I think hurricane insurance is something different.
That's homeowners insurance, not flood insurance.
That's just out of the deductible.
Just change the deductible.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, are municipal buildings and everything also required to?
Yeah, in fact, we were talking about this at the Ideal Beach meeting the other day. Middletown has the recreation center. Education has the great elementary school. They all have flood insurance. We all pay flood insurance.
Okay, so it's everything, and I know some of them fall off shelters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and also there's churches. They all have to pay flood insurance. County has
Everybody's in the same boat, so.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name's Don Watson. Can you hear me? My name's Don Watson, 1 Collinson Drive. I spoke with him down this road 5 years ago, like Mr. Fury said, when they rezoned North Middletown into the flood districts. You know, the township raised up their arms and stuff, even the county got involved. I guess nothing came out of that?
Which changes the way they actually charge flood insurance now. Is what's
Well, that was last year. But we
Fire
should.
was added.
It was only 2012.
Right. But in 2008, they put North Middletown into a flood area.
Yeah, what I said before is that being put into it was really a small piece of the problem. There was an issue. Remember, the county and the township filed a lawsuit to block that. But that's in place now. It's been in place since 2009. The problem now is the way they're...
Why did we get that relieved from?
Because the federal government changed the standards for flood control so that there was no winning that...
They just went by elevation instead of...
No, they went by the design of the flood control system itself. Like I said, that gentleman asked before, dunes don't count anymore. It's basically the way they interpret it. But the problem is not that. The problem is now, as of 2012, the law that was passed by Congress changes how the rates work, the insurance rates themselves. And that's what's causing the problem.
Yeah, but if they were never in the flood zone to begin with, then the rates would be...
But that fight's been had and lost.
And so we lost that fight. That's what I'm trying to say.
So the argument now is not to get people out of the flood zone. The argument now is if you're in the flood zone, you're paying rates, and thankfully people that probably wouldn't have been in the flood zone in Port Monmouth were in, bought insurance. The issue now is even after this $90 million Port Monmouth project, you're still going to have to buy insurance. You're still going to have to be under this new standard of elevation and...
Right, so if they reevaluate areas like North Middletown, and after the Port Monmouth project is done, where they're going to build another berm, just like they have in North Middletown and over in the western side of Kingsburg, they should be zoned out of the flood.
No.
They should be.
Yeah, they should be theoretically.
Flats.
Right.
I lived in North Middletown, was east.
Yes, they should be theoretically, but they won't be.
We never had a drop of water.
Correct.
So it's still that way.
But
I understand.
we said, even after they spend $110 million to build that system for Port Monmouth, people in Port Monmouth are still going to have to pay flood insurance.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
But the difference is now, from paying $1,800 a year to have no potential flood chance to paying $12,000 a year for no potential chance is crazy.
Right. I was going to say the same. Getting off the subject a little bit, I understand there's some plans being drawn up for the new municipal center. Is there any idea of when we're going to start construction of that?
No, there's no plans being drawn up.
There's no plans being drawn?
No, there's not. We're looking at space feasibility studies right now to determine how much space would be needed in order to consolidate.
Okay.
It's not plans themselves.
Okay.
At this point.
Also, I believe the mayor and Mr. Fury are on the League of Municipalities policy
Resolution committee I'm on, yes.
Can you assist in drafting that resolution for the other towns? Willing to do that?
Absolutely.
And when do you think that will take place?
I'm going to work with the attorney in the next few days to draft the resolution. Obviously, we have to pass the resolution, but, you know,
Oh, you have
right
to
now.
draft it before it's
Right.
okay.
We'll have it drafted in the next 2 weeks.
And present it to all the other towns. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Anybody else care to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joanna Casella, I'm a supporting partner in North Middletown. We do have a lot of residents here. I do believe that we might have more residents. A lot of them still don't know, and although a lot of people are on the internet, a lot of people in our area don't even have computers. It's not, they don't have it. It's a luxury. Is there any way that they don't, like, the kids in school will come in early? Is there any way to send out a letter from the township telling them? Because there are a lot of people that just don't know what's going on.
Telling them,
Telling the residents what's going on in North Middletown. Some of them don't know. You can talk to them. They'll say, when was this? I have no idea. They know they have flood insurance, and they know they're paying it, but they don't know this whole situation going on.
They're going to know pretty quickly when they get the letter from their flood.
I understand, but wouldn't it be proactive on our side to send that out to the residents? I know at the meeting we discussed, when we had asked, if there was a way to send it through the school system, and that was not approved. So isn't there a way? We asked if we could maybe get it into the schools and.
Who said that? The school said that?
No, at the Ideal Beach Community Association.
No, I said we have to ask them.
Right, have we done anything like that?
What-
You
what I-
send it home with the children
Yeah.
in the areas, Fort Monmouth and Ocean Avenue. You're gonna get hundreds and hundreds of parents that know what's
Right,
going on.
that's part of the reason there were so many people at Ideal Beach. I think they did announce things at school. But what we said was we were going to hold a community meeting and do that, invite through the schools, reverse 911 calls and that sort of thing. When we have the date set for the community meeting, that's what the mayor was talking about before, we're trying to get a date with Congressman Colon and FEMA people to be there. When we have that date, we will try to get it noticed to everyone, in one way or another, so that more people do know about it.
And in terms of the letter being on the website, it's written as the North Middletown, which I understand because it affects it, but it's more Middletown coastline. So when you look at North Middletown, you see North Middletown flood letter. If I don't live in North Middletown, I'm not going to click on it. I'm not going to open it up because I don't live there.
But keep in mind, that letter is for a very specific purpose, and it actually only does apply. That specific letter only applies to North Middletown, because you're the only ones in that situation. The Fort Monmouth and Belford and Leonardo, the other neighborhoods, don't have a flood control system. So you're making a very specific argument. So that letter has to be worded that way, so that the residents who are affected are the ones who send it in.
So you will be sending out some sort of letter or something so that all the residents can know about what's going on right now?
once we decide, once we firm up a date with Congressman Colon and make sure that we get all of the agencies that we need there, then we can send it out through the schools, and we can have a little bit of an overview of what the meeting's about, what this is, who's going to be there, why we're meeting, that kind of thing. And sure, we can distribute that. I don't anticipate the schools objecting to that. It's really public service at that point. So, okay, thank you.
Hi, Linda Brown, 19 May Court. And Mr. Pierre, I'd like to first respond to you or comment on a few things that you said earlier. I think a resolution is a good idea, and I do agree with you that certainly, this issue needs to be addressed better. One thing I want to comment on, though, you did make the comment that you preferred for the federal government not to be involved and for private insurers to write policies only.
No, what I said was, and I'll clarify my statement for you, is that if the federal government is going to raise rates to this level with no federal subsidy, that they should allow private insurers in there for competition purposes, because right now there's nowhere to turn.
Okay. The problem with a competitive private market is that with flood insurance, private insurers would not write it because of the nature of the coverage. There's something called adverse selection, which is an insurance term meaning, and I'm sure you know this, meaning that when the people who are buying the coverage or who need it are the only ones purchasing it, and And that's the reason the federal government is involved and working with insurers to provide the coverage, where insurers are administering, but the federal
But if
government.
the federal government, and I don't want to get into an insurance rate, and I hear what you're saying, but the federal government's going to go off of actuarial calculations, well then any insurer has their own actuaries, as you're well aware, who may have a better actuarial valuation than the federal government, which may lead to a lower rate.
Okay, getting a little off topic here. I do agree that certainly North Middletown is being unfairly penalized, and this is something we definitely need to address, and so that they are treated fairly. A few other comments already. I also wanted to follow up on your comment regarding the health insurance with the federal government. I'm not sure you're aware, but all of the policies that are through the health insurance marketplace are through private carriers, only private carriers. Comment on that.
How many millions of people have national flood insurance versus we're going to have national health insurance?
Okay, but
The point is that we have national insurance already.
Mr. Fiore, can you please hold your comment?
No, if you're going to address me, I will not hold my comments, ma'am. If you're going to address me, I'm going to respond.
Okay, well, I was just making a statement, right? Those policies are all through private carriers through the health insurance marketplace. I'm not sure you're aware of what's behind us. Okay. Also, I wanted to mention that I was at the IBCA meeting last week, and there were an awful lot of people competing for time to speak, so I actually didn't say anything. I did listen, and there were some very good comments at that meeting. One of them was from a woman who does surveys, and she mentioned that Seabright has a favorable elevation rating. Another comment had to do with Beach Haven, having filed a successful appeal. And many people ask, well, have we contacted these municipalities to get information about how they obtained a favorable elevation rating or successful appeal? And the response people got was, well, no, we haven't contacted them, but here's why we didn't. There's really no need to, and we wouldn't gain by it. Well, I think it's silly to say that because we don't know what we would gain unless we actually spoke to them. Perhaps we might learn something that might benefit us.
It doesn't take a very hard look to see that Seabright has a seawall.
And we have flood protection in North Middletown that has withheld 2 major storms.
I don't make the rules defensively.
Okay, well, again, we could be talking to Beach Haven as well.
I'm
The
not
comment
sure
that I
about
heard.
Beach Haven. I know a little bit about that.
Okay,
Under
well,
FEMA rules,
again.
the seawall is adequate, whereas the dune
So,
isn't.
still, we could be talking to Beach Haven. I haven't yet heard anyone here say that we have yet spoken to them. I see no harm in doing that.
I've spoken to Beach Haven West, and I can tell you there's a high degree of certainty that they're not talking to Beach Haven either. Because I'm a taxpayer now.
Are you saying, I'm sorry, I'm missing what
I
you're
said,
saying.
I can tell you that Beach Haven West and Beach Haven being right across the bay, I can tell you the highest degree of certainty in my conversations with them down there is that they're in no different situation, so I don't know where this Beach Haven is going, but I'll investigate.
There was a comment that they had, a successful appeal. And I think it would be worth
They're
speaking to
appealing,
them.
I don't think you're right.
I'm only repeating what I heard at the IBCA meeting.
Just so you clarify, we did look at the Beach Haven situation, it's very different. First of all, it only applied to 100 houses. It's a very, very small, isolated spot, and they didn't change the elevation so much as they modified the B zone so that the properties aren't in the B zone anymore. Their insurance issues really don't change significantly other than in terms of an elevation. It's just they changed the B zone.
And that's Beach Haven West, not Beach Haven, because it's Mill Creek Road.
Really isolated, like a couple blocks that were just taken out of the B zone. It's an apples to oranges comparison to this situation.
So that was the appeal.
And it's not even an appeal. I mean, when you're done, I'll address the appeal issue in general, so it wasn't really.
Okay, I'm afraid we're quite by the clock. We're going to move on. Thank you very
I
much.
actually have one additional comment.
Anybody else care to speak? Yes,
May
ma'am.
I finish just one additional comment?
I'm sorry, if I let you go over them, I have to let everybody, so we're going to have to move on, but we'd be happy to stay around and talk that more after the
I'm
meeting.
sorry, I asked for a lot of
Come on,
comments
Tracy,
to
you're up.
be withheld so that I could finish my comments. I'm going to go ahead and ask you anyway. Regarding the... Linda, that's utter disregard for the rules. Utter disregard.
That's not fair to everybody else who respected the 5 minutes.
There are many times when I come to these meetings, and individuals come up here and they say, and you ask them, and you give them the courtesy of withholding your comments so they can get all of their comments in.
We have
I've never extended that courtesy to
I addressed that gentleman when he addressed the governing body, did I not, sir? Did I address you in your 5 minutes?
If you had an additional comment, you would have.
We ask that you respect everybody else's time limit and time constraints. Tracy, you're up.
My name is Tracy Lewis. I'm at 45 Maida Terrace, and I'm actually here now to say thank you very much because I'm also a member of Fairview Community Concern. It's an organization near Bodmin Park. We had our second annual picnic gathering this summer, and thank you very much, Chair Sharpshooter, Mayor, you were there. We all appreciated that. The kids had a nice time taking photos. I also want to say a special thank you to Deputy Chief Craig Bars. He attended. Detective Godley has also attended. There were 4 police cars there that the children were able to take a look at and explore, so they really enjoyed that. The Parks and Rec, they did a great job mowing the lawn and giving us the Bodmin Park.
Didn't have the weather was picture perfect either.
It was a very nice, yes, it was. It was a very nice day. So we wanted to say thank you very much because the organization that Mr. Fury, you told us to organize, try to look at what Ideal Beach does, and we've done that and we've been successful with it. So I want to thank you very much for the guidance, and I want to thank you for the support as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy, for doing this, because like the Ideal Beach Association, who sort of created the model for this, it's really important that, these neighborhoods band together and, do some of the local lifting as far as taking care of the community, and that really makes a big difference. We see it in Ideal Beach, and we see it in Fairview and all the other areas where
It's a
these
nice, strong
exist.
community.
It really is.
Feel, so only good things came from it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tracy. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Mary Kenny. I live at 53 Bay Avenue in North Middletown. I was wondering how this would affect any disabled people. I do have flood insurance on my home. I have a mortgage on my home. I've never flooded once. I'm disabled. I could never raise my home. I wouldn't be able to get up into it. What would the effect then? You would just have to move?
They would have to have an accommodation or a ramp or something. Wow.
Well,
I'm talking about being disabled. If I had to raise my house 11 feet, I'm permanently disabled with a spinal cord injury. How would I climb those stairs to get in there? Right now, I don't climb stairs.
I think the federal government has not taken that into consideration unless I'm mistaken. Am I not mistaken?
well, I have heard cases where they will, you can use your insurance money towards putting elevators in houses. That is, it's crazy, but that they have apparently allowed that. The problem with it is that ICC coverage only gives you a $30,000 maximum. So by the time you lived at your house, there's no way you can afford an elevator or anything like that. So that's one of the, well, yeah, I mean, you're lucky you can get the house lifted for $30,000. So it doesn't leave you any extra money. So yeah, while you technically can use that money for it, in reality it doesn't do you any good. So no, they haven't taken into account any realistic
To
way
heal
to
the
help that
house.
situation.
I'm sorry, 25 years, you just have to get up and leave, more or less.
If you physically can't get in, and then, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's what
It's
the,
pretty sad, don't you think?
absolutely, yeah.
And I'm not mocking you guys at all. I totally agree with you. But I don't think Senator Pallone is going to cut it. I think you're going to have to get somebody a lot higher than him to get here. What's wrong with Senator Corellis?
Pallone is actually federal. He's on my office.
Senator Ted Cruz in, I believe where he's from, Midwest.
Texas.
Texas.
So you're talking Menendez level maybe, because he's the U.S. Senator.
Okay.
Not across the state senator.
But when you said, they voted against us having Sandy funding for our flood. But his country, his state just flooded, but yet he voted for it for his state. So we all out for ourselves here? You know what I mean? We're going to go into the Congress and think they're going to care about us. You think they care about North Middletown? They don't. They don't care about us. All the senators and politicians sitting up there, we're nobody to them.
That's a good point, but that's why we need Representative Pallone and Smith and our federal representatives here fighting for us in DC, because what goes on in there, they're privy to, we're not.
We need to speak here too.
Yeah, and Seabright, that seawall, as long as I've lived down here, with that wall, Seabright has flooded. So that's bull about, they're protected by that seawall. As long as I've lived here for 30 years, that place is flooded, so.
You know the irony? That wall, they still flooded this time around?
Yeah.
The sand, the dunes, you didn't?
No, I didn't.
And, the seawall is acceptable in FEMA's eyes and the sand dunes aren't.
That's what's wrong with this whole city.
Not a drop of water till I get in my home.
That's what's wrong with this whole
It's
city.
ridiculous.
Look,
And I'm gonna lose my home because I had no water, I can't afford to raise it, and I can't afford to put an elevator in my home. And I have to move after 20-something years to them, and they don't give a shit, excuse the expression. Excuse the expression. But that's all I have to say, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Joe Russo, Middletown. I do appreciate all the assistance in the board, the letter. Anthony is awesome. I think it speaks volumes. I know the letters to the senator is definitely the best way to go. We don't want to make enemies, we want to keep allies. But something that I've been thinking about this, it's been overlooked. I just like to make this for a comment to go down on the record. There's 1,400 people, 1,400 voters. Many of us who have mortgages and are trying to fail to maintain, keep our houses and if this falls through. So certainly we'll give it the best effort we could. But in a pessimistic point of view, I just want to add to the record is that something maybe that a lot of people have overlooked is that if we decide if we do all have to leave our homes and obviously walk away from a mortgage, this is going to be a lucrative opportunity for a developer to move in. And it's, like I said, it's a pessimistic point of view, but think about it, all those houses will be bought up and they'll be mowed down and they'll be brought up to height, and then those houses will be resold and neighborhood will turn around, such as some of the areas that develop with the townhouses. So
We don't want that to happen. We don't want it to get to that point, and we're going to do everything we can to not let it get to that sort of extreme, condition.
And being an engineer, I know about this precedent last time, and the levy of the dunes and the situation with the current system that we have in place. And another, obviously it's an opinion. It was put in back in the 60s because of the Hurricane Donna. The town got together similar to what we're doing now, and the petition to have the levy system in, I guess, in the current. And, it was put in by the Army Corps of Engineers, but I thought that they should maintain that and upgrade it to the level that they need to.
We've been saying that for 5 years,
I know
you guys.
it's a repetitious comment, but, I work a lot with DEP and, with my organization, we're required to stay current with the standards, regardless of, what the conditions are, the equipment that we have. And I know that the township maintains it, or is it DEP?
No, DEP.
See, you're 100, I know where you're going, I think I know where you're going here. You're 110% right. It worked, okay? The fact that her house was dry and hopefully your house was dry, it worked. But you have to understand the bigger force that I see, okay? And maybe it's my pessimistic view. But the bigger force that I see is that the National Flood Insurance Program doesn't want to pay claims, okay? They want to continue to collect the money and not pay claims. So the way that they get to do that is to say, elevate your house so that you never have a flood. But guess what? You're still going to pay claims. And if you do that, we'll give you a lower rate because your chance of flood is not as good. But if you don't do that, we're going to hammer you so that even if you never get another dime, another drop of water, we're going to continue to use that money for whatever purpose or wherever they're sending that money. So this is a whole system, in my opinion, designed to, A, not use real-time. Look, real-time was Superstorm Sandy, okay? If you got no drop of water, a storm worse than Sandy is going to have a damaging effect that's going to be well above anybody's means at this point for you to get 8 feet of water in your house, right? So that means that you have 25 feet in Fort Monmouth. That's biblical storm here. So at the end of the day, this is all set for them not to pay claims, which is why they're telling you that, they want you higher or they're going to make you pay for it.
It seems that they have guaranteed cash flow coming.
You got it. You got it.
It's understandable. And then where does it stop from there? Let's say, people go ahead and rig their houses, then it'll be blast down your roofs and make them hurricane proof and put bars on.
That's what they're doing if you're over 50% damage right now in Port Monmouth.
And not to all night, but the other system that they're building over in Port Monmouth, they're putting in dune there, I think you're saying, is that going to be up to the new standard, or is that just going to be?
It's going to be a combination of levee, dune, and a solid wall, actually. Part of it is a solid wall, but they still are going to be in the flood zone.
And they still will be.
Still a big dip finisher.
But will they be in a different, like a controlled flood zone area where there's some flood control in place, or will they be hammered like we will?
Well, that's the problem right now, is there's not a category for areas that are in a flood control protection to get a special type of rating. That's one of the areas that we're looking at changing, and just, I'm not quite as pessimistic that this isn't going to get solved. I think it actually will be, because I don't think it's that hard to solve. It's a couple of simple changes to the law would solve the problem for most people. So I think it can get done, but I think we have to stay on our case about it. But the flood control system in Port Monmouth is very similar, with one exception: they're going to have a solid wall partly on Port Monmouth Road.
Okay, we're gonna, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Lego Selly, I live at 108 Square. Thank you for your time, I appreciate it. My first question is, are we working with the press? There's nothing that gets a politician to engage more than a microphone and a camera in his face.
They're here, I'm hoping.
Right, you guys, so we need you to talk to the governor, to go to the governor's office, to go to Menendez's office, to go to Cologne's office, because he's not answering us. I call his office twice a day, every day, and the gentleman on the phone keeps telling me that they're going to call me back, and I'm sure like everyone else that called his office, no one gets a response. But if he's on the front page of the press about 1,400 middle and low-income families about to lose their houses, then he's going to have to make a comment for the record on it. And the other thing I think we definitely need to pursue is to continue to get the federal legislation reversed. There was an article, it's gaining traction, there was an article on CNN today about the Bigger Borders Act and how it's adversely affecting homeowners all over the country. Mary Landrieu, the senator from Louisiana, has introduced legislation to overturn Bigger Borders, or at least parts of it. And I've read every story I could find on it, and none of our federal representatives are on board with this. I mean, this is, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Tony said this is, in my mind, this is just an easy win, really, for everyone. And I spoke about this last week in the meeting, Mayor. The woman that authored the bill thinks it's bad. I mean, it's only the federal government, and it really makes you scratch your head, right? I mean, she thinks it's bad that the deployment of the bill should be delayed, yet what's happening about it? I mean, nothing. You just can't, the logic of it, you can't even make it up, really.
She had to pass it to find out what was in it, I guess.
Basically, yeah.
You know,
I don't think she even read it, to be honest with you. Probably one of us staffers wrote it, and they all just passed the bill on July 4th weekend, including Cologne.
You touched upon something that's really important. The fact that other parts of the country are affected adversely by this is probably our best, weapon. That it's not just little New Jersey saying, hey, help us help. You have Louisiana, Mississippi, I'm sure the Gulf Coast of Florida. All of those areas that are prone to these sort of events are in the same boat.
And the other thing, I've spoken to people of FEMA about this, and there are other parts of the country that are just like North Middletown, where a flood control system was built 30 or 40 years ago. It's not, up to snuff maybe, but still exists. They have exactly the same situation. They are all now being decertified. And so there are other places in the country where this is starting to happen. So I think that's one of the other reasons to be somewhat optimistic that it's not just going to affect 1,400 houses in New Jersey, in Middletown.
I mean, I don't know, who from the press is here? Are you from what news organizations? And? Okay. I mean, we need, no offense to you guys, but we need to really get snowballing on a larger press outlet that can really put the pressure on the governor. And again, with a microphone and a camera in his face, the same thing with Cologne, and all of a sudden he's going to have something to say, or have to say something about it. He can't just not acknowledge that it's happening. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Thanks. Oh. Leo, I'm sorry, you're next.
Leo Christopherly, 121 Cranberry Court. I'd like to broach three matters, Resolution 350, 357, and the business about public and private flood insurance. Shakespeare has addressed the heart of this problem in The Merchant of Venice, where he has the quote, "There's a tide in the affairs of men when taking at the flood, full tide, leads on to fortune, profit." Those were sail merchant ships that traveled by the wind energy, which is solar energy, very modern stuff, those old sail ships. And the merchant ships, of course, would go to foreign countries and bring back rich commodities that they could sell in their native country. The difficulty was, the cost was the borrower of 3,000 ducats from the moneylender had to pay a debt in default of 1 pound of his flesh. I personally believe it was the borrower's heart. I think the interest in this flood business is, for me, taxpayer, for equalization purposes, everybody, you know, the fair share, that cliche, that you want to get as many damaged houses back in full market price, up and running, so these people are paying the taxes that they were customarily expected to pay, but because of the hardship have been removed from the rolls to some extent. I just make a note, Resolution 257, not 357. The paperwork is not in this loose leaf binder, and I am interested in the assessment demonstration program because I don't think the numbers are going to work and really make the difference that they're advertising. I know it's an effort for the administration of the state to make the taxpayers hope that there's a tax break coming to the property taxpayers. I don't see it. I know that in Tinton Falls, where I used to live, when they hired a firm to assess, evaluate, reassess, reevaluate, they would come in for about 6 months, finish the job, and for the next 5 years, the firm would get paid $100,000 each successive year, so they got $500,000 in 5 years. So what are they doing? They're going to have the firm do 1/5 of the houses each of 5 years. If they're going to get paid at the end of each year, say $100,000 or the equivalent of it, currently, I don't see really where there's going to be a significant gain. I've seen all the statistics. It says it's going to work. I've talked to the mercantante, and he convinced me that the numbers will work, but I'm not a believer. The last thing is, if I may, 350. I understand that when this township uses MCIA, Monmouth County Investment Authority, that they're getting two things out of it, if I can recall. One is they get a low interest rate because they can use the credit, the better credit of the county. That was confirmed for me at a freeholders meeting. Now that you do not have that, and you're bailing out the school system, the sewer department, and the township, you still can, without the county MCIA, you can still borrow the $24.5 million. Very interesting figure there. I'll press on without referencing the press and say that I wonder how much interest the acting CFO could tell us, or anybody, would be paid on that $24.5 million over 10 or 20 years, or what was anticipated?
We were never borrowing any of that money, Leo. That was a guarantee.
That's a grant?
Yeah, a guarantee. There was no money, that money was not being borrowed by the township.
The county would give it to you as a grant?
Nobody was giving us anything. It was a guarantee, not, that was not.
If you remember, a couple of years ago, there was talk about doing the solar projects.
Yes.
The MCA were kind of administering that. One of the requirements, and they were all going to be funded through MCA and bid out. But one of the requirements was that any municipality that was participating had to guarantee the bonds. And guarantee the debt. So there's no payment on behalf of
Who
any
would guarantee the debt?
municipality.
Whatever entities can participate.
Under FCIA?
The municipalities would have to do it for municipal work and any school work that was going to be done. So there was no requirement to pay anything, it was just simply a requirement if there's a default, that they then built into the system a bond that had to be posted by the successful bidder, which this whole project, as you know, is dead. But they would have to actually post a bond that would actually repay the municipalities. They actually had to act on satisfying that debt.
Leo, we're gonna have to move on, but if you have more questions, we can stay around afterwards.
Oh, I'll do that.
Okay. Leo, you're keeping me from watching the Giants go 0-7, so I owe you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Michelle Hutchinson. I live at 40 Taylor Avenue. I just have one question. Everyone's mentioning the home, portion of the homes. What would happen to the school if it's on Pelican? Are they going to raise that, or?
Well, no, what will happen is that they will presumably have to pay higher insurance because the cost to raise those would be, well beyond the cost of additional insurance. It's not the same for a house because we don't have a mortgage as opposed to homeowners, so it's a different system. But yeah, presumably the insurance will go up for the town, for the church, and for the schools, and all the businesses will all feel the impact of the increased life insurance. We just don't have the need to raise it because of what we don't have our taxes.
They wouldn't think so.
I'm serious about that. That kind of rate increase would not have that kind of impact on schools in the town.
Who would be paying for that? The whole town?
Sure. Just like we pay insurance on every building now, which is insurance costs will go up. How much we don't know.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
John Quigley, Council Avenue. I had a couple of questions about the resolutions that were passed this evening. First one, Resolution 1358, about the agreement with the compost site. That one was not mine. What's the location of the compost site?
It's at the end of Center Avenue, sort of behind the ferry terminal. That's open space that's owned by the county. Township used that for relief composting for years.
Then smell stuff with that?
No, maintained the leak now. Huh? Brush. Leaf and brush. We grind it. We grind the brush and we compost the leaves.
Second one was on Resolution 13260 on the authorizing property tax card, the work program as part of the finance program. My question is, who pays for this? Is it paid for by the businesses, or is it paid for by the other taxpayers who don't buy things in Middletown?
It's not paid for by the taxpayers. It's a tax credit that works with an agreement with the businesses. So instead of getting X % off at the cash register, it comes off of your property taxes.
So this is the cash register?
Yeah. It is a promotion that the business participates in.
And the administrative cost of the program are paid for also?
There's no
No administrative cost.
Okay, good. Now, the seawall in Seabright is kind of like a magic line. When Seabright flood, it floods in the river behind us.
Not this time.
Seabright.
Not this time.
No.
This was over the wall.
32-foot swells over that wall.
And like the woman had a very good point about raising, elevating the houses makes it very hard for access for disabled people. That's something that generally is probably not taken into account.
That would be an excellent cause for you to bring up to Congressman Malone.
Yeah, Mr. Schlegel, you has your chance to contact your congressman and tell him.
There are, I mean, if it's HUD housing with more than 4 units, it has to be accessible. So in a housing like that, they have to have upgrades. But for private citizens, there's no, nothing that requires that it be accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else care to speak? I'm sorry? You said yes? Okay. All right.
We went to the September 6th workshop meeting and it got a little rowdy. By the end, a lot of people were talking at once. So I opened the rules for public comments in township committee meetings. And it doesn't seem as though the committee is totally following the rules the way they're written. This is the standing rules for regular meetings of the township committee. And I know it's hard to be a chairperson, I've done it a lot. But it does say that the mayor is supposed to be the chairperson and run the meeting and recognize people to speak, as we know. But item 6 says, questions or comments from the public should be directed toward the township committee, that is through the chair, and answered. And then if he wants to, he or she wants to appoint one of his professionals to speak, he could do so. But what I've seen lately, and other people have noted too, some of your employees are speaking out without being recognized, speaking for the committee. I think if they feel they need to do that, certainly they would go through with the call, and it keeps a less rowdy meeting. Tonight was pretty calm, but at other times I think it helps to keep everyone talking at once. And one thing I've been speaking to the mayor, especially if anybody else is interested, the Human Rights Commission is supposed to be advising you guys for various matters about discrimination and stereotyping. And I just wanted to pick up for the chairperson, Mayor, one thought when you were speaking from the heart, I'm sure, about the older man who was died soon after you saw him. But I noted a couple of times you said he was wheelchair bound. And I doubt that he was headed for a wheelchair or tied up in the wheelchair. And I just wanted to let you know these days, Mr. Gordoy, it is very important, it's a matter of discrimination. This man used a wheelchair, okay? And also what worries me a little bit, seems to be, I may be wrong, making assumptions such like that he may have been depressed because he's wheelchair bound. Now that's an assumption because people who use wheelchairs actually find them helpful and freeing, otherwise they wouldn't be here tonight. And I just like to, think a little bit of 1970s and stuff about language. And it's not just PC, it makes a difference in how somebody feels. And respect for that gentleman as you were discussing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else care to speak? Seeing no members of the public come forward, we move to close the public portion. And before we adjourn, do you want to add something?
I just want to mention one thing about the flood map issue. At the IDCA meeting, there was a lot of discussion about appeals. We verified with the flood insurance people that the time for appealing flood maps hasn't even started yet. It's not, the implementation of the maps has been delayed so much that they're still in just a general comment, question, and answer period right now. And the appeal process won't start for a long, long time. That's why I was saying earlier that someone mentioned East Haven. They didn't actually file an appeal because the appeals haven't even started yet on the new maps.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Casella.
Yes.
Deputy Murray.
Yes.
Deputy McMurray. Mayor Sharkey.
Yes.